This is only the way it works for me right now. I can't get it to go on YouTube, but please enjoy the video. Comment, like, and, well, subscribe if you haven't.
You have major stars that you've heard about in the news and you've seen on television and film. They truly are Satan worshipers. They truly have not only sold their soul to Satan, but they've merged their soul to the satanic rituals that you find in Hollywood. Now,
I'm sorry about the quality, guys, but that's just the way she rolls. I think the message is more important anyway.
Nowadays, the younger actors, it's almost like they're soulless. It's almost like they have no spirit. I look into their eyes and I don't see anybody. This is David Heavener, and you're watching End Times Productions. Do actors really sell their soul for fame? Okay, that's a two-part question. First of all, most actors that go to Hollywood sell their soul because they want to be famous. Okay, now, what does that mean to sell your soul? It means to compromise. It means to side with evil because you're not siding with God. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of actors in Hollywood that call themselves Christians, and some of them are, okay? But in order to adhere, to conform to the rules of, quote, Hollywood, you're going to not side with God, and you're going to automatically side with the devil, because that's the system in which that Hollywood operates. Now, that's one side of it. So that basically everybody sells their soul when they go to Hollywood because they want to be loved. It's a very carnal business, okay? The other side gets a little deeper. It gets a little more complex, okay? You have major stars that you've heard about in the news and you've seen on television and film. They truly are Satan worshipers. They truly have not only sold their soul to Satan, but they've merged their soul to the satanic rituals that you find in Hollywood. And by the way, satanic rituals they have all across the country and the world. So two parts. One is everyone sells their soul if they're not on the side of God. The other one is the other avenue is not only do these people sell their soul, they merge their soul to the devil himself and participate in the satanic ritual abuse. Is there any truth to program multiples in Hollywood? The answer is absolutely. Why is that? Because there's program multiples everywhere, okay? In churches, in Hollywood, in Middle America, they're everywhere. Now, the agenda of a program multiple, it's not a program multiple's agenda, it's the person who programmed them, which is usually involved in the satanic church, is to further the devil's cause, okay? Now, the reason that program multiples exist in Hollywood is because the camera is a very powerful tool that if you can get it on camera, it goes out to millions of people and they can see it. So the answer is yes, of course there's program multiples in Hollywood. It's a system that's owned by Satan, so actually is it not okay? To them it's a very good thing to disrespect Jesus. The second part of that is, why is it okay to glorify Muhammad and Buddha and all these other, quote, gods or Christ-like figures, and yet do not adhere to the teachings of Christ and do not follow the living God? Well, because it's a system owned by Satan. Satan doesn't want us to know the truth. The only truth is Jesus Christ. I am the truth, I am the way, I'm the only way to the Father, the only living God. So Hollywood's going to say, sure, go after Buddha, sure, go after Muhammad, sure, do all that other stuff, because it all goes back to the pits of hell. The only road to heaven is Jesus. The Hollywood agenda. The number one agenda is to get as many people to continue on the road to hell as possible. Now, The second agenda, and I'm not going to call this agenda, I'm going to call it a tactic to send everyone to hell, is to destroy the family. If Hollywood can get to the family, which they've done very successfully, you take out the father, which they've done, then you start working on the children, and then you got a big mess. And so they've destroyed the family the past 20, 30, 40 years in Hollywood. The final blow is going to be to get to the children. And if you look at places like Disney, Nickelodeon, even Netflix, they're definitely getting to the minds of children. The reason is because they're hitting young minds, and they want young minds to believe this is the way life is. And if this is the way life is, it's probably the way God wants it by design. And so that's, it's like if you have a film where everybody's cussing, where everybody's smoking dope, you grow up thinking this is what people do, and this is acceptable, and this is, it's all about numbing down and dumbing down the young generation so that when they grow up, they do not have the tools to discern. Now, because we have the mind of Christ, that once you accept Christ, you become, bam, a new creature. The mind of Christ is there, it's enhanced, and then you can see. Hollywood discriminates against true Christians, okay? Not the counterfeit and religious Christians, which is most of the Christians in Hollywood, okay? They don't discriminate against the fake religion, because the fake religion actually helps promote the devil's agenda. Who they do discriminate against are the people that are telling the truth. But let me say something to you, and I say it humbly. They can't discriminate against the true child of God, because a true child of God has the power of God in them. So what happens in Hollywood, I've seen Satan run in fear of the true child of God. Okay? So forget about them discriminating. They're scared to death. Doesn't mean they wouldn't want to take you out. So discrimination, I don't believe, really comes with people that actually tell the truth. Yeah, the difference between old Hollywood and, quote, the new Hollywood is that the old Hollywood, like guys I worked with, like Martin Landau and Tony Curtis, and some of these guys, they still had a consciousness and a respect for faith. They were still tapped into the Judeo-Christian system. Okay. There was a lot of movies that came out during their times, Ben-Hur, the Ten Commandments, still was about the Jews, what the Jews went through, the Old Testament. Nowadays, the younger actors, they don't have a clue about that. It's almost like they're soulless. It's almost like they have no spirit. I look into their eyes and I don't see anybody. Nobody's home. Why is that? Because through the generations, the young people, the young actors have been fed counterfeit. They've been fed lies, and so they don't even know what the truth is. So they're walking around almost like zombies. To me, that's the difference between the old Hollywood and the new Hollywood. What is The Last Evangelist? The Last Evangelist is a TV series. Right now it's 6 episodes. I call it CSI meets the Book of Revelation. What exactly does that mean? It means if you take Matthew 24, which Jesus talked about what would happen in the end times, the current events of today, all right? And you put it in the format of a X-Files, of a CSI. It's investigative reporting. I play a cop, and my job is to bust underground churches, because in this day that we're talking about, which by the way is today, you have to be licensed as a church. If not, you have to go underground. So my job is to bust underground churches. Until one night in my apartment, I find God, or God finds me, and he says, "Why are you persecuting my people?" And I finally meet God, kind of like Paul. Saul in the Bible. So with the Bible in one hand, a gun in the other, I set out to find the Antichrist, deal with cashless society, mark of the beast, FEMA camps, a lot of that stuff that we are going to encounter and actually encountering now, even though a lot of people don't know that we are. And that's why I started David Heavener TV. What is David Heavener TV? It's a Roku channel, Roku, Amazon, Android TV, and when YouTube kicks us off, you'll be able to go to davidheavener.tv. And by the way, you don't need Roku to get davidheavener.tv, but you can go in there and watch all the shows, the Last Evangelist and many other shows, without me being censored. So you'll get 100% of the truth. And how are we raising money for this ministry and Last Evangelist? Well, we are doing it through donations because we are a ministry and we're a 501c3. God told me not to go to investors, okay? He said, go to my people, they'll hear my voice, and when they hear my voice, they will respond, the ones that are supposed to. So you can go to lastevangelist.com, sign the newsletter, become part of the community. If God lays it on your heart to donate, then we have hats and t-shirts. You can donate and get a walk-on part, or you can even be an associate producer. At least sign the newsletter. Be a part of the community. lastevangelist.com.
There is a mysterious ancient city hidden deep within the canyon walls of the New Mexico desert. A place of magic rituals, astronomical alignments, and supernatural legend. This massive city was lost for centuries when its occupants seemingly vanished nearly 1,000 years ago. To this day, archaeologists and historians are unable to piece together exactly what happened here. So we traveled into the ruins looking for any clues that would help us understand the true history of the canyon. What we soon would discover was a history far more shocking than anyone could believe. So join us, End Times Productions, for a unique look into Chaco Canyon, home of the Ancient Ones. The ancient Anasazi people had superior knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, ritual magic, as well as supernatural abilities. Tribal elders tell stories of extraordinary events that occurred in the canyon. Events so shocking, the Ancient Ones decided to carve depictions of these events into the canyon walls as a semi-permanent record of what happened here. Let's listen to Laguna Pueblo Council member Paul Pino describe the events leading up to the collapse of Chaco Canyon.
In our history, they talk of things that occurred a long time ago, of people who had enormous amount of power, spiritual power and power over people. I think those types of people lived here in Chaco.
We look upon Chaco Canyon, especially Pueblo Bonito, as a place where people of great power lived at one time. The Calquepitzuliacque, meaning the people who live in a circular house, were people that had magical powers, power over animals and birds and so forth.
Here at Chaco, they were very, very powerful people who had a lot of spiritual power. And these people probably used their power in ways that caused things to change. And that may have been one of the reasons why the migrations were set to start again. Is because these people were causing changes that were never meant to occur.
Perhaps over time, the original premises on which they begin to develop these places could have been corrupted. And some people who come here feel that there was an aspect to this place that was perhaps darker.
The 15-mile-long canyon is home to over a dozen massive complexes. The largest, Pueblo Bonito, has over 800 rooms in sections that were over 5 stories tall. Tucked away on a cliff face behind Pueblo Bonito lies one of the canyon's most telling secrets. 3 feet carved into the mountainside, featuring 6 toes each. Are these 6-toed carvings showing the feet of a Nephilim hybrid depicted in the Bible? From the Book of Chronicles, chapter 20, verse 6. Quote, "And yet again there was war with Gath, where was a man of great stature, whose fingers and toes were 24, 6 on each hand, 6 on each foot, and he was also the son of a giant." End quote. Legends from all over the American Southwest speak of giants, 6-fingered, red-haired giants who have been inhabiting these remote areas for centuries. They speak of evil, cannibalistic giants who would terrorize the tribes with their hunger for human flesh. Not only do they speak of giants, however, they also mention monstrous creatures. Monstrous creatures that they carved into the canyon walls as a record for all to see. All throughout Chaco Canyon are these massive circular structures called kivas. The kivas are perfect circles built into the earth for the purpose of rituals, ceremonies, and religious practices. They were used extensively by the Anasazi, who, according to their own verbal history, used the kivas to summon entities from other dimensions. A member of the local Pueblo tribe was quoted saying, quote, "My grandfather used to claim the kivas were used for more than simple prayers and ceremonies. He claimed that Anasazi could use those rooms to go to other worlds." End quote. We know that the ancient ones used petroglyphs throughout their history in order to document events. Petroglyphs like this, the spiral. The spiral is found over and over again in different countries, different cultures, all throughout the world. Spirals are found from the jungles of Peru to ancient Egypt and many places in between. Spirals can be seen as a symbol of a portal, a multi-dimensional portal used by beings for transport between worlds. This is evident by the petroglyphs and the stories they tell. Let's take a look at some of the petroglyphs we found during our exploration of Chaco Canyon. What we see here are supernatural creatures coming out of the spiral and manifesting themselves in this dimension. Over and over again we see the same imagery, literal monsters emerging from these spirals. Oftentimes they are still connected to the spiral, other times they're standing right next to it. You also see images of humans getting sucked into the spiral upside down, and on the other side a monster emerges. This is a common theme throughout the canyon at numerous petroglyph sites that we visited. They all seem to be telling us the same story. During our investigation of the canyon, we came across several interesting petroglyphs, depictions of monsters, dragons, gray aliens, and weird-looking beings, but I never found what I was looking for. We searched the entire park for this carving that has been documented numerous times over the years, and yet we found nothing. I started to wonder, are they hiding it? Is there any off-limits areas where they don't want the tourists to go? So I decided to ask one of the park rangers. The conversation went like this. "Excuse me, would you be able to help me find something in the park I was unable to locate?" The ranger replies, "Yes, absolutely." So I say, there are some footprints with 6 toes carved into the side of the mountain somewhere behind Pueblo Bonito, and I'm having a hard time finding them. The ranger says, ah, yes, those. They are located in an off-trail area closed to the public. Closed to the public? What else do they have closed off to the public? And as we were about to leave, we decided to watch their 30-minute film at the visitor center. What we saw was shocking. They showed us petroglyphs like no other we have ever seen. Perfectly clear images of interdimensional demons with pyramids stacked on top of its head. We walked through the entire park and never saw this. We started to wonder, where are these located and why are they hiding from us? Also, it got us thinking, what else are they hiding from us here in Chaco Canyon? In 1999, anthropologist Christy G. Turner II published a research book with the University of Utah entitled, quote, Man-Corn, Cannibalism and Violence in the Prehistoric American Southwest, end quote. The term man-corn is the literal translation of the Aztec word Tiac Taluay, which refers to a, quote, sacred meal of sacrificed human meat cooked with corn, end quote. In Turner's book, he provides evidence of cannibalism in 72 ancient Anasazi sites, including Chaco Canyon. Forensic evaluation of bones found at these sites proves they were cannibalized. The question is by whom? Who were eating the Anasazi? After the collapse of Chaco Canyon around 1150 AD, the remaining members of the Anasazi spread out and separated. They moved deep into remote canyons, building dwellings high up on cliff faces or on highly fortified mesas. To archaeologists, it was as if the Anasazi were overtaken by paranoia, hiding from some terrible enemy, but no matter how hard they looked, no enemy was found. Or was it?
Thanks for watching, guys.